Happy New Year and welcome to Cosi Talks Live 2023. Holy cow, we've got a lot of things to celebrate tonight, and I'm going to wait till y'all jump on board to tell you about everything that's going on this evening. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple of minutes. I'm getting a couple things here started. Y'all are like, what is she doing? Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a minute. All right, guys, I see a couple of you jumping on board this evening. As you jump on board, you know the routine. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what is in your mug. I'm starting off the year right with my decaf and my Cosi Talks mug. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, guys. So if you are watching the replay this evening, let me know. You guys have been so wonderful lately about writing your comments in the replay section, sending in your questions through there. Oops, Bob's hat's getting a little filtered there. All right, and letting me know what's going on. Hey, Harsh from Richmond, Virginia. Welcome. Happy New Year, Harsh. All right, guys, and Happy New Year to everybody. All right, let's see. You got water in a glass, Harsh. Come on, man. You got to get something a little more exciting than that. It's the new year. All right, guys. So I've got lots of questions because the past couple of weeks I've been taking a little bit of a break. Hey, Tom, Happy New Year to you. I've been taking a little break and spending some much needed time with my family and just enjoying the Christmas and the New Year holiday. There's Barbara in Connecticut. We got Brian Bishop. I hope you got your Bustelo starting off the year right. We got Jeff in Kannapolis having some coffee brew. Cheers to you. Happy New Year, Susan. And Andrea, hello. There's my token occupational therapist joining me for the new year. We've got Benny on board and Steven from Bama. Roll Tide. So guys, I am also broadcasting to my YouTube channel under Cosi Talks as well. So if you're having a little trouble finding me in Facebook or the reception isn't that great, sometimes it works a little bit better on YouTube. We've got a great crew going on. I've missed you guys, man. This is probably the longest I've taken off. I took 2 weeks off from the show. The longest I've taken off since I've started the broadcast. It was a little strange not broadcasting, but again, it was time spent with my family, enjoying the Christmas holiday and the new year. So cheers to the new year. There we go. So guys, I will get started. We got a nice crew going on board. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, thank you for joining me with the new year, guys. Welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist here in Tampa, Florida. I've been a PT now for officially 20 years. I met my 20-year mark in December of being licensed. So I have a practice here in Tampa called Palanca, which is exclusively for working with the amputee community. And that is one of the things that we are celebrating this evening, guys. Today is the 5-year anniversary since I started the Cosi Talks show and opened up my private practice here in Tampa. So 5 years ago, January 4th, 2018 is when I started officially broadcasting this show, getting to work with some of the amazing companies that I've gotten a chance to work with, and just sharing this with you guys. So this is as much a celebration for you all as it is for me. And then on a personal note, January 4th in 2016 is when I had my first surgery to get rid of breast cancer. So it's been 7 years since I started that journey, and just continuing to walk that path. So guys, cheers to you, celebration, and thank you for everything that you guys have done to help support me during these past 5 years. And here's to many, many more. Bob's got his birthday hat on. See that? He's in a celebratory mood. Thank you, Harsh. Hey, Liz. 5 years together, Kristen. And guys, I got to give a shout out to my girl, Kristen. She's under there. I'm going to put her on the spot right now. Kristen Elizabeth. When I first started out the show, I had no money, no funds, nothing to start out with. I certainly had no knowledge of website or any technology. And Kristen, quite frankly, saved my hide. Wow, that's a lot of smoke from that candle. Kristen saved my hide. So basically all the beautiful graphics and everything that you see on my website, my entire website, the Strong Body website, the program, everything that you see on my YouTube channel is courtesy of this amazingly talented and beautiful, kind-hearted woman, Kristen. So wouldn't be here without you, Chica, and thank you so much for being a part of this wacky journey with me. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't tell you how much I've been thinking about today about where I was 5 years ago, where I was 7 years ago when I started that surgery. And if somebody would have told me that this is what I would be doing now with my career, I would have never believed it. And I'm so no place else I'd rather be. No place else I'd rather be. So tonight, oh, thank you, Chuck. Love you, girl. Love you, Kristen. So guys, tonight we're also announcing my 2023 sponsors. As many of you know, this is a full-time job for me, running this show and bringing on the special guests and creating all the content and talks and questions and all the fun stuff I love to do. And I would not be able to continue to do this without the generosity of my sponsors. I've had some amazing sponsors these past 5 years, and I really do mean it when I say I could not do this show and I could not continue to do this show without their generosity. So with that being said, I have 5 sponsors this year. Did I wait? Let me make sure I got that right. 3, 4, 5. 5 sponsors this year. A couple are returning members and a couple are new players. So let's play that guessing game, guys. Who do you guys think is my sponsor this year? Let's hear it in the comment section. What are your thoughts? I'll give you a hint. No, I won't give you any hints. I'm going to have you guess. I know, right, Susan? 5 years. 5 years. It's kind of crazy. If somebody would have told me I would be a small business owner, I'd just, whoo. I know. Your lips are sealed. Yeah, Kristen, you can't say anything. So Harsh guessed Click Medical. Sean is guessing Hanger. Let's see what else. What other guesses you guys? You guys can't, come on. Show me some love. Who do you think is going to be my sponsors? Who are my sponsors this year? Marianne is Lululemon. Yes, they are still currently in my partnership. Yes. David is saying College Park. Y'all know my show. Andrew is saying College Park. All right. Oh, Jeff says, I have a local support group now and a coach, and I'm walking better than ever. Lost weight. I am so sore. Jeff, I am so proud of you. I have loved watching your journey these past 5 years since I jumped onto the Facebook community. And I got to tell you, Jeff, your ears must be burning on a regular basis, because whenever I set the example for hardworking bilateral above the knee amputee, you're one of my top names along with Marianne. Susan says, Bob is one of my... Bob is not my sponsor. He's just my mooch right there. Vital Fit. So guys, first sponsor of the year I'm going to announce is Click Medical. So guys, Click Medical came on board the show in 2022. Many of you have been asking so many questions about adjustable socket technology. And as I continued to learn and research and read up more on the different adjustable socket options that were out there on the market, Click Medical just kept coming up. And this past year, working with them in 2022, I really, really love their products. I love the RevoFit system. So many of you have come to me saying that you started using that adjustable system and are so happy with it. This year, they've made some tweaks and modifications and improvements, and one of them including, which I'm so excited about this one, the Revo Surface. Where basically you can build the adjustability into your existing socket. You don't have to wait to get a new socket done. So we're going to be talking a lot about that this year. So Click Medical is the first sponsor. Next sponsor returning back is what I call my first love, College Park Industries. So those of you who have been with me, and there are some of you who have been with me since 2018, College Park was the very first company to recognize what it was I was trying to do with this show, to help bring education, information, and empowerment to the limb loss community. So they were the first ones to say, hey, we want to sponsor you. And it was kind of funny because at the time I said, well, what does that mean exactly? But they've been such an amazing, loyal support these past 5 years. And, you know, between the amazing product line that they have and then their team, it's just wonderful, wonderful to work with them. So they're going to be coming back on the show. Number 3, let me make sure, did I name these correctly? Yes, I did name these correctly. So number 3, Prosthetic and Orthotic Associates of Tennessee. So this is another returning sponsor. And guys, I love it when my sponsors come back for another year. There's a lot of relationship building with these teams and getting to know the different companies, getting to know their vibe, getting to know what it is that they're about. So whenever we get to have a second year in a row, a consecutive year with a sponsor, it just really takes off like wildfire, because we you know, we've got everything going. So with Ronnie, for those of you who remember, he is an amazing prosthetist based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is also an above the knee amputee himself, and he is a 2-time world champion rock climber. Yeah, all that and more. And he's an amazing prosthetist. You guys, those of you who watched his show, how many of you guys watched one of his shows with me? Show of hands. Yeah, Andrew's like, yeah, POA of Tennessee. That's right. Go ahead, guys. Let me hear. What are you? excuse me, I'm tongue tied right now. Some of you watched his shows last year. Which of you watched his shows? So if you did catch one of his shows, basically he is very, very outspoken, no holds barred, and he lets his opinion be known. And it's a really wonderful, wonderful, informative sessions whenever we have Ronnie on board. Yeah, Tom saw his show, Liz saw his show, Marianne. Yeah, he really gives out the information straightforward. And he's a wealth of knowledge, So I love having Ronnie on the show. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about this year with Ronnie are bilateral amputees. And I know I don't show enough love to my bilateral amputees on this show. So this year, you guys are going to get a show all to yourselves. And we're going to be talking about, what does it mean to be a bilateral amputee? What are the considerations that you have to take into account? There are some of you out there who are currently one leg unilateral amputees, but potentially facing a second amputation in the future. So things that you need to know from a prosthetic standpoint, things that you need to know from a rehabilitation standpoint. So we're going to do a whole show on that. And I'm so, so excited about that. We're also doing a show on alignment, which at first people are like, really? Alignment? Woohoo. But actually, guys, alignment is really important in your prosthesis. If you're not aligned properly, your gait is going to be off. And the tricky part is knowing, okay, when your gait problems are coming from the alignment of the prosthesis or they're coming from you, meaning any weakness or any issues that you might have. So we're going to be doing a whole show on that. And I'm excited because that's something as a clinician that I feel like I constantly need to learn more about, right? So far we got Click Medical, College Park, POA of Tennessee. Number four, I feel like Casey Kasem. Do you guys remember Casey Kasem? I'm totally dating myself. The top 10 countdown with Casey Kasem. Anybody? No? Crickets chirping? Come on, help me out here, guys. All right, so number 4 for my sponsors for 2023, Integrum. And probably some of you are going, Integrum. I think I've kind of heard about that, but I'm not sure what this is really about. So just a memory jogger, back in November of 2019, right before COVID hit, we were hearing a lot about a certain surgical procedure that was making waves around the globe, called osseointegration, right? Also known officially as a bone-anchored prosthesis, right? So in 2019, I had the chance to have Integrum on my show. They were the first ones to get approval, FDA approval, to start performing osseointegration in the United States, right? And we did a show in 2019. Now, little did I know that that was going to really take off. And in the United States, Susan's like, I do remember Casey Kasem, right? So in the United States, we're hearing and seeing a lot more osseointegration, right? So for me, whenever I see something really big coming out, last year we tackled targeted muscle reinnervation. I think it's very important for you all to have a place where you can come get credible information, right? There's a lot of chitter chatter on the Facebook pages, and some of the support groups are chitter chattering about osseointegration, but sometimes that information might not necessarily be very accurate. So, and this year we're going to go straight to the source. We're going to be interviewing Integrum. They are the makers of the OPRA system, which is a bone-anchored prosthesis, sometimes also referred to as osseointegration. We're going to have all of their experts, and guys, the special guests that I'm having on the show that are going to tell their stories about osseointegration, and just the 2 women I'm thinking about right now that are coming on the show. I have admired these women for a very long time, and these are probably going to be some of the best stories you'll ever hear. So that's Integrum. All right, so we got those 4. We've got Click Medical, we've got College Park, we got POA of Tennessee, and we've got Integrum. Who is number 5? Yeah, I'm going to leave you guys hanging because that's a big one. So guys, if you want to find out who my number 5, hang on, guys. Give me a second. I thought I was prepared for tonight. There's always going to be a little hiccup here. Okay, so if you want to find out who my number 5 sponsor is, then you need to, oh my gosh, my phone is just totally killing my dramatic response here. Okay, here's what I need you guys to do. Hang on, thank you for being patient with me, guys. Okay, if you want to find out who is my number 5 sponsor, then you need to sign up for my texting service. Oh, Susan says, I know who number 5 is. Susan, who do you think number 5 is? Who do you think number 5 is? Who do you think it is? It's a good one. Oh, it's a good one, guys. But I'm going to tell you, you got to text Cosi Talks to that number. Many of you are already signed up for my texting service. I'm going to release the number 5 sponsor through the texting service. Ha ha ha. So we're going to go ahead and let you guys figure that one out. I'm curious to know who Susan thinks it is. All right. So guys, talked a lot about this 5-year anniversary, and Susan says, I think it's the last guest you had on the show. The last guest I had on the show was Colleen, my viola player from the Christmas Carol concert. Nope, guess again, Susan. I will give you guys a hint. It's a new one. It's a new sponsor, and it's good. It's a good one. All right, guys. So I'm going to do tonight what I've been doing for the past 5 years. And quite honestly, it's my favorite thing to do on this show. And that is answer your questions. And because I took a 2-week playing hooky for 2 weeks, I've got lots of questions that you guys have turned in. And I'm super, super excited about that. Susan's like, I'll get back to you. I have that face in my head. I know, Andrea, and I do apologize. There was supposed to be a text reminder for the show, and I sent it out, and it didn't go through. So I'm going to investigate that. But I promise you, when I send out the sponsor, the number 5 sponsor, I will make sure this is working. All right. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start answering some of these questions. So a gentleman by the name of Chris said, sent in a question and said, hey, I'm on the replay. A little note, as an amputee for almost 4 years, I still get redness and pinkness when I'm fitted for a new socket due to the pressure points. So I just kind of wanted to address that because we were having a lot of questions about skin and new sockets and everything like that. So whenever I have a new patient coming in, and even some of my experienced patients, I always look at the skin. You guys know that I'm a huge stickler for skin hygiene, skin health, keeping that skin healthy, because if your skin is not healthy, you can't wear the socket and you got nowhere to go. Okay. So when I have someone who's new to wearing a prosthesis, I talk to them about pressure points, right? There are certain areas in the socket that are going to have more pressure than others, more contact, right? So the way the socket is designed is to take the weight off the end of the residual limb, and it's suspended through the soft tissues in the limb, both for below the knee and above the knee amputees, right? So in some cases, you're going to see some pink and perhaps even some redness in certain areas throughout the limb, okay? So the question is, what is considered to be normal pinkness and redness, and what's considered to be not good normal pinkness and redness, okay? So again, everybody's just a little bit different in terms of their body habitus, right? Some people have a lot of soft tissue, some people don't have a lot of soft tissue, and some people fall somewhere in the middle. Below the knee amputees are going to present a little differently than above the knee amputees, right? Above the knee amputees, you're going to have all that nice juicy thigh muscle tissue, so you have a little more cushioning there compared to a below the knee amputee. Okay, so usually when I look at a person, I'll say, okay, I'm expecting to see pinkness and redness in these areas, and I will indicate that to my patient. Okay, and I want them to start learning about this. So if you are in that process right now, guys, ask your prosthetist, ask your physical therapist, where should I be seeing pinkness and redness, if any at all? Okay, now the general rule is, okay, if you take off your prosthesis and you have a red spot, like usually like a circular spot, or you have bright redness, or you have pink, so like really bright pink, and it's not fading away after about 2 to 3, sometimes even as much as 5 minutes, that indicates that there's a pressure point there that should not be there. Okay. And again, everybody has a different color skin tone. So you do have to take this into account. When I have my Irish fellows, right, they have that nice, really white skin that sometimes with a pink undertone under it. It doesn't take a whole lot for them to flare up into a red. Okay. But I'm looking to see, does that redness subside within 5 minutes max? Okay. If that redness is not going away, then I know I need to give the prosthetist a call and troubleshoot to see if we need to add socks, take away socks, or put an adjustment in the socket, okay? Someone who has a darker complexion, someone who has an African-American complexion, for example, or some of my darker skinned Hispanic folks, then we need to look for just a change in the color. Like the darkness will get just a little bit darker on their skin, or it will just look like a little bit of a brownish discoloration on like some of my Hispanic folks. Okay, so we're looking for changes in the skin that don't go back to normal. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to take into consideration. Oh, the man who was on about the nerve transplant about TMR. Susan, that's a very, very good guess. So unfortunately, TMR Nerve is not going to be joining me this year, but guys, I'm still going to be giving out the information on target muscle reinnervation. They are a fantastic company. They have wonderful resource with their website. So Dr. Souza is who you're thinking about, Susan. He was the plastic surgeon who came on the show for the Veterans Day. Very good. You're right. For the Veterans Day show. Amazing surgeon, amazing surgeon. Incidentally, he is also an expert in osseointegration. So we might see him on the show again this year, Susan. He was a fantastic guest. He's just a wealth of knowledge. Hey, David, late in South Carolina, drinking his cheer wine. Oh my gosh, I love cheer wine. Hey, Mina, happy new year. Looking for hip strengthening exercises for bilateral amputee. One side seems stronger than the other. Yes. Oh, poor Bob's losing his hat. So Mina, thank you for saying that. So Mina, just so you know, check back with my website because pretty soon I'm going to be launching the dates for all the talks for this year, guys. And you can see all the different topics that I'm going to be discussing. Mina, I'm going to be doing a special show just for bilateral amputees, and we're going to be talking a lot about that. But just so you know, it is very normal to have one side stronger than the other. My left side, my left leg, and I'm not an amputee, guys. My left leg is stronger than my right leg. My left hand, because I'm a lefty, is stronger than my right. You're always going to have these little unilateral, just asymmetries, right, going on, right? So for hip strengthening exercises, and Mina, let me see if I can show you. If you go to my Strong Body website, and let me see if I can share this with you guys. Okay, so there's the Strong Body website. So Mina, I am going to go ahead and show you just a sample exercise. Okay, so hopefully you can see, I don't want to play the video because the video comes out really loudly. Okay, but if you can see how my model patient model here is right here. Okay, so she's an above the knee amputee and you can see I have her residual limb positioned on this roll. And that's how she's doing the bridging exercises. This is to help strengthen the glutes right here, right? As a bilateral, you would do the same thing, only instead of having this leg right here, obviously your other residual limb would also be placed onto that foam roll, okay? So guys, even though in my program, I don't have a bilateral specific program yet, and hopefully it'll be in the works sometime soon, you can take these exercises and modify them and just do the same exercise with both of your legs, okay? So Mina, I would encourage you when you do your strengthening exercises, do the exercises equally on both sides. Some people will say, well, I'm going to do more strengthening on my weaker side. No, keep strengthening both sides. It could be that one side can do more repetitions than the other side, the stronger one, but you want to get the weak one to catch up to the stronger one and keep paying attention to that stronger side. Sean says, my question, the hospital is my sponsor. That would be cool, Susan, but no, it's not. The hospital is not going to be one of my sponsors. Hey, Pat. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, let's see. Sean is asking, I am in the hunt for a new prosthesis, but I am unique in losing volume and gaining volume daily. My prosthetist wants a new prosthetist to make my leg. I'm not really comfortable with that, so I'm stuck. My current prosthetist made my last leg. Okay, so Sean, good news and bad news. Good news is that you're not unique to this, and that's a good thing, okay? This is a very, very, very common problem to have. Many people, I think this is probably what surprises them the most when they become amputees is they don't anticipate how much their residual limb is going to change and then how it's going to continue changing throughout their lifetime. The longer I've been doing this, the more I realize that residual limb, it changes through the entire rest of your life. And it kind of makes sense because our bodies also change for the rest of our lives. Ronnie, the prosthetist that I mentioned earlier, who's going to be one of my sponsors this year, he's an above the knee amputee. He is in his late 30s and he lost his limb as a teenager. So he's been an amputee for quite some time, and he even says his limb is still changing, right? And he's a very active individual. So Sean, the fact that you're losing and gaining volume on a daily basis, that's very normal. There are some people, I call them the unicorns, that after the 2-year mark, after amputation, their limb stabilizes, right? And they don't really have much volume fluctuations. They are the unicorns, okay? And believe me, whenever I get someone like that in my clinic, I'm always picking them apart to see what is it that you're doing in your lifestyle that allows you to keep your limb volume so nice and stable. You know, what is your secret? What do you do, right? But for the most part, everybody has volume fluctuations, okay? So you can do, there's a couple of ways. Obviously, you use the socks, and it sounds like, just kind of judging by the way you wrote your question, it doesn't sound like socks are going to really cut it for you. So again, let me introduce the RevoFit socket. Okay, so Sean, these are one of the sponsors for this year. The reason why they're a sponsor for me last year and this year is because I really, really love their system. So this is a demo socket, guys, by the way, so it has a lot of stuff going on, but there's different ways to add adjustability to your socket, Sean. And it's all controlled with this little dial, this little click reel. Sometimes they have a BOA dial, sometimes they have a click reel dial, right? So basically with this kind of a system, let me see if I can do this while keeping the mic there. This is the glute one, this is the, okay. So here you can see the different panels. I'm gonna really loosen it up so you can see what's going on, right? So what you do is you push this in, you click it, and then it tightens up the fit of the panel, right? So there's different ways that you can build that adjustability into the socket, okay? So Sean, my recommendation would be for you to go to the Click Medical website, and let me just type it in real quick for you. I can't type one-handed, just not happening. Okay, if you go to their website, they have a directory by state that says the different prosthetist clinics that know how to make the RevoFit adjustable socket. Okay, now when it comes to switching prosthetists, I'd be curious to know, is your prosthetist recommending another prosthetist because they feel like they are not able to provide that level of care for you to give you that right fitting socket? You know, and if your prosthetist is saying that, and your prosthetist is the one recommending that you go to another prosthetist, then, you know, as uncomfortable as it can be to start with a new clinician all over again, you might want to take that into consideration, especially if you've had a lot of issues in not getting that right fit. And if the clinician is saying, this is beyond my scope. There have been several times, and especially in my earlier years as a clinician, where I had a case in front of me that it was beyond my scope of experience and I had to call in for outside help. That's how I learned as a clinician, right? So if that's the case with you, then I would say, you know, your clinician might be doing you a favor by admitting that this might be outside of their ability to help you, and they want you to get the best care possible, Sean. So Sean, if you do have any other questions about that socket, you guys are always, always, always welcome to email me directly. There's my email address right there, cosi@cositalks.com. So if you have any questions about like how to find out more about the socket, or where to find a prosthetist that makes these sockets, or any of the stuff that you hear on the show, you can email me directly. All right, let me read some of these comments. So Sean, you followed up that question quite nicely. You said, should I get an adjustable socket or stick to my traditional pin lock system? Now remember, your pin lock, okay, that is the suspension. Okay, so that's how the socket is held onto your leg. That doesn't accommodate for volume. So I hope that makes sense, okay? Interestingly enough, you can have a pin lock suspension system in an adjustable socket, okay? So the suspension is what holds you in, right? And then the adjustability is what kind of fills the space in it, what kind of fits it to your limb, okay? And I actually did a great video, I'm kind of proud of that video, on my YouTube channel about the differences there. So Sean, when you have a moment, go to my YouTube channel and check out some of my 2-minute chat videos, and I talk about that there. Mina says, doing bridges with my legs on, with my feet up on a box. Okay, Mina, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you wrote this down. Can you tell me if you're a bilateral below the knee or bilateral above the knee? Okay, Sean says, I've been an amputee since 2003. And again, Sean, having fluctuations in your limb volume, could be a very normal thing for you. Now, a couple things to take into consideration, and I always like to remind my folks of this. How is your diet? Do you have a very salty diet? Are you drinking enough water on a daily basis? Those little things right there can really make a difference with keeping your limb volume stable throughout the day, okay? Do you have any underlying medical conditions? Are you diabetic? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have an autoimmune disease? Something that could be contributing to retaining water and making that limb go up and down on a daily basis. Okay, so these are things to take into consideration. Things that perhaps before your amputation really didn't affect your daily life, but now that you're having to wear a prosthesis, you're probably starting to notice that a little bit more. Okay, Marianne says, I am anxiously awaiting the bilateral above the knee strong body. Girl, you and me both. You and me both. I'll be real honest with you guys. I funded the entire Strong Body program on my own. That's why it took 2 years to put it together and launch it. And, I'll be honest, I ran out of funds before I got a chance to do the bilateral part. So hopefully, God willing, in the near future, I will have the resources to be able to really expand this program and make one for bilaterals. I want to make one for my upper extremity viewers. I want to make one for running. I got a lot of stuff I want to do with that program. But for now, we've got a nice basic above the knee and below the knee program. I have had some of you as bilaterals that bought the program and you're using it and adjusting it. And I'm happy to help you try to figure that out. Susan says, my limb is stabilized. You're one of my unicorns, Susan. And she says it only changes if it's super hot or super humid. Hey, Theo from Albuquerque, welcome on board. So Sean says, no, they're a new prosthetist and she wants her to get experience. Okay, so if you are being paired up with the newer prosthetist, I wouldn't have a problem with that so long as the more experienced prosthetist is keeping tabs on everything. Okay. That's how we learn in healthcare, in medicine. That's how we learn is, yes, we go to a lot of school, a lot of years of schooling, but truly the learning that we get as clinicians is when we are in the field working with patients, right? So at one point I was the rookie clinician and I didn't know the difference. I barely knew the difference between above the knee and a below the knee amputee, right? And so my earlier patients, they had to be very patient, bad pun, with me as well. But that being said, I had a supervising senior physical therapist who was the most amazing clinician ever supervising me, and especially with the more challenging cases. So Sean, this is something that I would recommend that you just have a very frank conversation with your prosthetist and just say, look, I understand that you have a new prosthetist. This person needs to learn, but I would feel more comfortable if you are also consulting on the case and supervising the making of my socket and my leg. Okay. Don't be afraid to stand your ground there on that one. Oh, Thomas, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Let's see. So Mina, you are bilateral below. So yes, as a bilateral below the knee, definitely, I would recommend that you try to do your exercises with your prosthesis on. Okay, and that goes across the board even for my unilateral amputees. And I say this on my videos in the program. When I have someone who I'm working with, I try to do these exercises with their prosthesis on because, again, I want the person to think of that prosthesis as their leg. We want the brain to just acknowledge that that is a part of their body. Now, does it always work? No. And in some cases, some people will say, well, this exercise, I can do it with my leg. This exercise, I cannot do it with my leg. And we adjust that program accordingly, okay? The important thing when you're doing these exercises, Mina, is to make sure that you are doing good form, okay? And that you have everything positioned properly to really get to that and target that appropriate muscle group, okay? So if I see someone trying to do that bridging exercise, but they're not engaging their glutes, then I'll say, you know what, let's take the prosthesis off. And that way we can position that limb just right so that we can engage those glutes properly, okay? And on the program I have with and without prosthesis. So a lot of these exercises, I demonstrate how to do them both ways. So you're 10 years post, there you go. So Sean, high blood pressure and hypertension. So Sean, I'm sure you've already heard a lot of this from your doctors, but I'm just going to reiterate, watching your diet, watching your water and fluid intake. It's something that in the older I get, and I won't tell you how old that is, the more I appreciate services such as dietitian and nutritionist services, right? Experts in the field of nutrition to help us really optimize what's going into our bodies, especially if we have something going on like high blood pressure or diabetes or an autoimmune disorder, to help fuel our bodies and keep it healthy. Really starting to appreciate that more. So Theo says, it took my current prosthetist 9 months to get me a RevoFit adjustable socket, and I'm a left above the knee amputee. Yeah. So depending on your insurance, guys, some people, it takes a little bit longer to get things moving along. Jeff says, I'm up for the bilateral above the knee program. Oh yeah, Jeff, you're going to be my poster child right there. Yeah, Susan's right. Most knowledge does come from learning on the job. But that being said, it's got to go both ways, right? Patient still gets to have their rights. And there were a couple times where I was the patient myself, and I saw the rookie coming in and I didn't like what I was seeing. And I said, nope, sorry. I want the more experienced performing this particular procedure on me. Okay. So if you're not comfortable with that, guys, speak up, speak up. Let's see. So Sean says, my job is very, very physical, so my volume changes all through the day at work. Again, we're in hot, sticky Florida, so a lot of my patients here, just by the sheer weather alone, are sweating buckets all throughout the day, especially in the summertime, even if they are very careful with their diet and everything going on. So Sean, I would look into the Click Medical RevoFit adjustable system. Like I said, I really love this design. There are other options out there for adjustable socket technology. This is the one I'm most familiar with. So I'm just, full disclosure right there. And again, I like this one. Happy New Year, Johnny V. Yes, I do like to cook, John. It is a very big hobby of mine. So Mina says, doing some step ups as well and wondering, I tend to swing my leg and trying very hard just to keep the knee bent. Does it really make a difference if it swings? Trying to picture in my head what it is that you're describing, Mina. Do you mean like, actually, Mina, I really don't understand what it is you're trying to ask me. Can you rephrase that for me, please? Thank you. Maybe I haven't had enough coffee. Oh, Tom, he says, oh, come on. We all know you're 25. You are my new best friend, Tom. Blessings to you as well, Jim. Thank you for coming. Let's see. Oh, I see, Mina, what you're saying. On the way up, sometimes your leg, you have to swing out to get it to the top, on the top of the step. Yes. With my bilateral folks, I cut them a little bit of slack, not a whole lot, but just a little bit of slack. So when it comes to doing some of these exercises where you're stepping up, right, and you don't want to catch your toe, then yes, swinging it out just a little bit to the side is acceptable. One thing you might want to try, Mina, and this is just, again, as a strengthening exercise, is just lifting the leg up, like bending the leg. Sorry, let me see if I can demonstrate. Doing this movement, hip flexion, right? It could be that you have a little bit of weakness in those hip flexors, and doing that will then allow you to clear your foot when you do that exercise, okay? I can still not step up with my residual limb like a stair after 7 years. And again, this is a work in progress, guys. You have to do concerted strengthening, even for my below the knee amputees, to make that work. All right, let me see about this one of these other questions that we have here. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay. So this one is from Susan. Susan says, I've been an active above the knee amputee for 11 years. About 4 weeks ago, I had an MRI which showed bulging discs and other problems in L1 through 5 and in S1. The most consistent unrelenting pain is in my stump, making wearing my leg impossible. Do you know if that is common among us amputees? Any thoughts? Okay, so let's just explain a little bit. Come here, Bob. You're gonna have to let go of your party hat for a minute. So what Susan is saying is that she has bulging herniated discs, right? Herniated and bulging through L1 through 5. So that's the lower lumbar. So basically your spine is labeled as cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, and sacrum, right? And it's just simply numbered. L1 through 5, you have 5 lumbar vertebrae. So they're labeled L1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Bob isn't exactly super anatomically correct, so we're just going to guesstimate for him. Okay. And in L through 5, that's very common. Usually your herniations happen, your herniated discs usually happen in the cervical spine and in the lumbar spine. That's typically where they happen. They don't occur very often in thoracic spine just because your spine here is stabilized by the ribs. Useless Jeopardy factoid for you there. So with the L1 through 5, that's a lot of bulging discs, and S1, meaning the first sacral vertebrae there, that she's got bulging discs. So what happens with these bulging discs, right? So you have these little juicy cartilaginous discs in between each of your vertebrae. It's to provide cushioning, it's to provide movement, it's to provide shock absorption protection, right? So as we get older, those tend to kind of shrink just a little bit. They get a little desiccated, okay? And they get a little bit weak, right? And if with repetitive movement, if you're stressing out your back in the wrong way, you're not using the right muscles, you don't have a nice strong core, right? Those herniated discs, the middle part, which is called the nucleus pulposus, it's just a fancy word for jelly stuff in the middle of that disc, it'll start to herniate or push out, right? So what happens when it pushes out is it starts pushing on those nerve roots that are exiting the spine, which again, Bob is really not great anatomically. Yeah, you can kind of see it on this other Bob, but he's like glued to the wall right now, so I can't get him down. But basically that herniated disc starts bulging out and it pushes on the nerve, and it can be really, really painful. For some people in the beginning stages of that herniation, right, they'll start to feel it in their back, like it's a really intense pain in their back. As that starts to herniate even more and push more on that nerve root, people will start to feel the pain going down their leg, and they can start feeling tingling, numbness, and even weakness in the muscle, right? Depending on how much that nerve is affected, right? So in the case of an amputee, you're obviously not going to feel it going all the way down to your foot, but you might feel weird sensations in your residual limb. Some people might feel it as a phantom pain. Some people will feel it as electrical shock pain within the residual limb itself, okay? So, and Susan's case, it's making her prosthesis extremely uncomfortable, okay? So the only solution with this is to go to the root of the problem. You got to fix the problem from back here. You're not going to fix the problem by modifying the socket. Okay, doesn't matter how clever or how skilled your prosthetist is. If your problem is coming from your lower back and you have herniated discs that are causing nerve compression like that, then the problem needs to be solved back here. Okay, and there's a few different options. Back pain physical therapists, oh my gosh, they are miracle workers. Seriously, I've had countless stories of patients who were told by surgeons that they would need massive back surgery. They went and they did a course of physical therapy for 8 to 12 weeks and their symptoms disappeared and they did not have to have surgery. Okay. I've seen some real magic happen. And again, back pain specialists, the good news with that is they are a dime a dozen. There are hundreds of back pain specialist physical therapists, right? It's not like amputee PTs where you see one every once in a while and it's like, ooh, it's exciting, right? No, you're going to see a lot of back pain specialist PTs, right? And they can do some amazing things with that program. That being said, right, if you go through that physical therapy and symptoms are not improving, then you need to talk to your neurosurgeon and see about what your options are, whether it's with certain pain injections, whether it's a minor minimally invasive procedure just to kind of shave off some of that herniated disc, or something a little bit more involved, going in there and putting the decompression, okay? But definitely it's one of those things, yeah, you got to get it checked out. It's not going to go away on its own, and it's not going to get any better on its own, and it's going to impact your function. So you definitely get that addressed. Okay, so Theo says it wasn't an insurance issue. I knew I couldn't find a CPO that knew how to install a RevoFit kit in Albuquerque. I think I'm the only amputee in my city with a RevoFit socket. Oh my goodness, Theo, I think now things are really, really expanding, because I do know of several folks in New York, maybe not Albuquerque, but that do have the RevoFit socket, and they are expanding everywhere. So again, guys, go to their website and just kind of look it up. I'll tell you what, it's worth it. You know, if that's something that you feel like you're a candidate for an adjustable socket, it's worth going to a prosthetist who has experience putting the RevoFit in there. Susan says, I felt it in my buttocks. Yeah, and that's exactly where the path of that nerve travels down, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, Benny says we'll be back in Lakeland, Florida in January for USA Patriots amputee training camp. Hooah! Nicely done, Benny. Awesome. I'm going to be in my backyard. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Brian here says, I am a left leg below the knee amputee 1 year out. I tried a prosthetic, but it was too painful. We did the clear mold fit and it was like bee stings all around it and it was awful. I have what they think they call a deflection. I think he meant to write contraction in my lower leg. I can't get it to extend back straight enough. I have tried stretching, bracing it to force it back with no luck. What can be done? Do they make an offset for my leg angle? And I feel like I'll never walk again. Please help. So Brian, yes, there is hope. Okay, I've seen some folks out there. Who have contractures. Okay, so contracture basically means that the tendon to the muscle and the muscle itself has gotten tight. Okay, in some cases, it can be a permanent contracture, meaning that the tendon has undergone changes, permanent changes, even sometimes calcification, and there's no working around it, right? And then you have what I like to call pliable contractures. And so contractures that are tightness, but there's still movement and there's still the ability and the potential to regain some of that movement. So Brian, someone like yourself, again, and this is something where I kind of put the onus a little bit on the prosthetist. You know, if as a prosthetist, I do have some prosthetists listening in on the show. If as a prosthetist, you have a patient coming in who has a severe contracture, whether it's a hip flexion contracture, a knee flexion contracture, or even a hip externally rotated contracture, right, where they have the above the knee get externally rotated and their external rotators get very tight. This is where you really need the services of a physical therapist, okay, to evaluate the contracture, to see what the potential is to stretch things out and to get things moving, okay? Now, the most common thing I hear from prosthetists is, well, you know, we don't have a PT who specializes in amputees. Guys, any Bobo PT out there who has a license can help with a contracture, simply said, okay? That's just like PT 101. Like that's our very first class that we take is how to manage a contracture and how to manage muscle tightness. Okay. So it doesn't have to be an amputee specialist to be able to manage these contractures. Okay. When it comes to a knee flexion and hip flexion contracture, yes, there are adjustments that can be made in the socket to accommodate the flexion contracture. There are limits. Okay, but guys, I've seen some really, really creative prosthetic designs with people who have really big knee flexion contractures and accommodations made. So yes, there is hope. And again, it's one of those things where you need to find a prosthetist who has a lot of experience working with complicated fits and alignment, and then also working with that physical therapist. Okay. The thing with the stretching and with these contractures is you don't want to be too aggressive because you can actually cause more harm than good. So whenever I hear someone like Brian saying, yeah, I've been bracing it and stretching it and pushing it, and I just think to myself, okay, let's try a different approach and let's just see, you know, what we can do without damaging the other structures around it. Okay. Let's see, Kurt, he's one of my fellow PTs. He says, lumbar symptoms misdiagnosed as phantom symptoms. Yes, ding, ding, ding. Patient seated in flexion too much, many times, just need some tummy time. The nerves are all connected, pinched up top, makes them mad down below. Ooh, I like that. I like that, Kurt. Yeah. And guys, like, oh my gosh, Kurt, like doing a psoas release, right there. My patients don't like me when I do that, but you know, it works. So guys, Curtis is right. Kurt, I keep calling you Curtis. I want to call you Curtis. He's absolutely right. When it comes to pain in the residual limb, guys, and I've done, how many shows? Like, I don't know. I've lost count how many shows I've done on residual limb pain and phantom pain. Okay. Understanding the difference, right? So let's just do the quick recap and start the new year right. There's phantom pain, phantom sensation, and residual limb pain. With phantom pain, you are feeling pain in what used to be your foot. Typically, that's where you feel it, right? So you feel pain where the foot used to be, and it is pain, shooting, burning, stabbing, crushing. I've heard so many adjectives used to describe that pain. Phantom sensation is just that. It's just you feel those toes. There's no pain associated with it. You just feel the toes there, right? Versus residual limb pain, pain that is in your actual residual limb, in the stump that you can point to it, okay? So for me, when a patient comes in talking about pain, I like to distinguish what kind of pain are you feeling, okay? Because if you don't know what kind of pain you're feeling, you can't diagnose where it's coming from and the root cause and treat it properly, right? So residual limb pain, and sometimes Kurt is right. When it comes to those lumbar symptoms, meaning the lower back symptoms, sometimes they can just present as phantom pain. Patient may not even have back pain. They may just have phantom pain in their limb and they think it's just the regular kind of phantom pain, right? Again, it's good to evaluate the pain, know where it's coming from, and then you can treat it properly. All right, guys, let me. Ooh, this is an easy one. Cindy is asking me, do you happen to know a physician that will do neuroma surgery? My phantom pain is so bad, I can hardly take it. Yes, ma'am, and I know you're not the only one. So I am going to put up. Boom. All right. Anybody who is experiencing pain from a neuroma, they need to put this tmrnerve.com website in their favorites list, okay? They have a wealth of knowledge on that website and so many good team members there. So guys, they have a physician directory that gives you by state the surgeons who do the targeted muscle reinnervation procedure to help with painful neuromas, okay? Right there. Okay, this is a good question because this is one of those red flag questions that whenever I have a question like this sent to me, I'm like, ooh, let's answer this right away. So this gentleman says, I'm a below the knee amputee for the last 40 years. I have total knee replacement in both of my knees. Lately, my phantom pain frequency has increased and I have burning pain and bone pain that has been excruciating. Can any exercises help me with my pain? By the way, I also have a stem router in my thigh. Lots of red flags here. No, there are no exercises that will help you with this kind of pain, okay? And what really concerns me, and I immediately answered this gentleman and I said, you need to go to your surgeon right away. The fact that he has burning pain, this is new onset pain. So let me just backtrack a little bit. This gentleman's been an amputee for 40 years, okay? He's having new onset pain he's never had before, pain that just kind of showed up out of nowhere. He has a history of having bilateral knee replacements, which means he has metal implants inside of his bones, right? So the fact that he's having burning pain and he's even describing it as bone pain to me, a lot of red flags right there, a lot of red flags, a lot of potential that I'm thinking of maybe there's an infection in that bone. Maybe there's a little bit of an osteomyelitis cooking there, okay? Sometimes with these implants, there can be an infection that starts to flare up after a little while, right? So for me, if I see this and I say, you need to go to the doctor and get evaluated because that is not normal. And this is not pain that's gonna go away with exercises. Right? So better safe than sorry, get this checked out, see where that pain is coming from and what's causing it. Yes? Okay. All right, guys, this is the first show of the year and I couldn't think of a better way to start this year. Check in with me with the Cosi Talks website. I'm going to be making a lot of updates there. Those of you who are not already signed up for my email, let me just put that up there right now. 721. Let me see if I can almost memorize this. My cat is getting into something right there. Okay, so guys, if you have not already signed up for my email, all you got to do is text Cosi Talks to that phone number right there. And in the next week, I will be sending you guys the name of sponsor number 5. So if you want to find out who my 5th sponsor is, sign up for that texting service. I promise I don't spam. I don't sell your phone number or do anything crazy like that. It's just to be able to send you the news and keep in touch. All right, guys, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and sign off. I am going to go enjoy my 5-year anniversary cupcake, 7 years cancer-free cupcake. And I will see you guys next week, same bat time, same bat channel.